From geography to history, plants and animals, science, and so much more, this is Mike Butler, and welcome to This Day's Trivia from Bison Podcasts. Each episode, we dive into 5 unique trivia topics, all tied to today's date, and our trusty randomizer wheel will pick one of those topics for the episode. Get ready for 16 fast-paced trivia questions with just 5 seconds between each question. Perfect for testing your knowledge solo or with friends and family. At home or on your next road trip. So buckle up. It's time for this day's trivia. Today is October 18th. We're breaking format today and introducing a series we're calling Interviews with the Experts. In acknowledgement of National Crime Prevention Month, we have a special guest on the show, criminologist and author Judith A. Yates. I interview her to ask her about her life and career, and also to get some great tips on crime safety and prevention. Then we take the quiz. I introduce 5 topics, then ask Judith 16 questions about one of those topics chosen at random that she may know nothing about. How did she do? You don't want to miss it. Judith A. Yates is an award-winning true crime author, criminologist, podcaster, fiction writer. The list goes on. A former private investigator, Yates has lectured at prestigious institutions such as the Federal Bureau of Prisons and for the National Homicide Investigators Annual Training. Judith's expertise has been featured in national media such as A&E's I Survived a Serial Killer, Oxygen's Snapped and Murdered by Morning, and the ID Channel's Evil Stepmothers. She's also a respected voice on podcasts and radio shows, providing valuable commentary on unsolved cases and ethics in criminal investigations. In addition to all these pursuits, Yates is an advocate for victims and animal rights, dedicating her time to cold case investigations and rescue missions. How am I doing so far?
Fabulous. I sound important.
Currently pursuing her PhD in criminal justice, Yates is also the author of 6 true crime books and 2 crime fiction titles. Her latest project, Irma Gresa, Becoming the Hyena of Auschwitz, is set to be released in winter 2024. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank
Judith.
you. Man, all of that, it makes me sound like I'm doing something, doesn't it?
You have. You've accomplished a lot. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Well, I'm honored you asked me.
So I wanted to ask you a couple questions. First, about your career. Your career in criminology has spanned decades and various roles from prison investigations to true crime writing. What drew you to the field and what keeps you passionate about it to this day?
Dyslexia. One word. When I went to college, my interest was psychology, but I couldn't pass the math. I couldn't even pass intro math. And I later learned the problem was I have a certain dyslexia that is mostly numerical. But I took a course called Criminal Justice, which just sounded interesting. I don't know. And probably because my grandfather, after he retired from the military, worked for Pinkerton, when Pinkerton was a real security service. Mm-hmm. And I remember him carrying in the uniform. He was also a gunsmith. Our neighbor across the street, his best friend, was a cop for San Antonio Police Department. So I'm guessing it was somehow ingrained in me. And the hero child is always interested in helping positions anyway, so it just all kind of came together for me. Now, Pinkerton's a long history of investigation and security. At the time, late 60s, he was, besides just a guard, he was a security officer, and there's a huge difference between guard officer. And I remember him just putting on his equipment and his hat and how proud he was. It just, soaked into me. And then I also believe in serendipity. Have I able to pass math, I'd be on a complete career path now. But I love law enforcement. I love teaching. I love forensics, investigation. It's kind of stirs up all my interests, I guess, at once.
You've appeared on shows like Snapped and Evil Stepmothers as a crime expert. Do I have that correct?
Correct.
What are the challenges of presenting information about cases that mass audiences, the general public, can actually understand.
Sometimes people do understand, and the people calling themselves true crime junkies kind of scare me, but
Because of how much they know?
because of how much an entertainment industry it has become. I mean, you look at the list of TV shows and you're like, okay, murdered in the morning by my next door neighbor, teens who murder adults, adults who murder teens. I mean, there's every concept you could think of. And my readers and other people say, oh, I watched those all day. And now they're experts, because they watched all these shows. And I'm not against them. I'm not saying anything bad about them. I'm saying it's become such an entertainment industry that it's almost became unreal. And if you will listen to people when bad things happen, they'll say, oh, it was just like a movie. It was just like TV. It was just like Friday the 13th, but then art imitates life, imitates art. So
throughout your extensive career, what has been the most rewarding moment or case you've worked on that reaffirmed your commitment to criminology and victim advocacy?
Oh, gosh, there's just so many. I could go on and on. Probably my book called She is Evil, because the perpetrator was a adult white female from a little tiny town where nothing bad happened, and she moves to the city in Memphis. She meets this fellow named Ijaz Ahmad, and he is from Pakistan. He's a devout Muslim, and the crime occurred where she murdered him. And what I tried to explain the most, and I do believe I've got my point across, is the fact that women can be as vicious as men, because there's that myth. Also, Ijaz being from the Middle East, it dispelled a lot of myths about people from that area and the Muslim religion. Because I had to do a lot of interviews and research and reading about the Muslim religion. And Ijaz was a true Muslim. Didn't drink, didn't smoke. He treated his first wife and the perpetrator with care. He would go to prayer and to Muslim religious events. And he was an all-around nice guy. And the reason he let this girl get away with so much is because he said, my religion says you help one another and you pull one another up. Now, that case almost didn't go to trial because it was close to 9/11, and they didn't feel like that they could prosecute a white female for killing a Muslim Middle Eastern male.
That's insane. It almost didn't go to trial.
Right.
As almost like it was going to be thrown out as not even a real criminal case.
The problem is you have to think 9/11, and we were fed all of this hate talk about certain groups that we saw them all as terrorists. And we were made to believe that, one, we're much better than they are. Two, all of them are dangerous. And three, a mosque is not a church. It's not an American church.
Right.
And I feel like I dispelled a lot of those myths in that book. Yes, there are some people who do bad things in the name of religion, or there are people who do bad things. But that doesn't mean it's because they are. For example, should you suspect every blonde-haired, blue-eyed white male because that was what Jeffrey Dahmer looked like?
Yeah, very good point. And it seems like you focus quite a bit on female criminals in your career, or at least in the books that you write.
Yes.
Yeah, including your latest book, which I do want to talk about at one point. But I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about National Crime Prevention Month, which is October, and this will be released on October 18th. And then you agreed to later, after I ask you some more questions, to go through and answer some trivia questions of mine, which is, the format of the show. I'll talk about 5 things that happened on October 18th, or observances or holidays. But back to National Crime Prevention Month, National Crime Prevention Month emphasizes community involvement. In your experience, how can local communities and individuals play a role in preventing crime?
Stop saying it won't happen to me. Not in this neighborhood, not my family, not in this house. And talk to each other. It doesn't really matter at all your religion or your political affiliations or color or quote unquote poor versus rich. We're all human beings. And talk to one another. Watch out for each other's property. Make a phone call if you see a car in the neighborhood that doesn't belong, that's just sitting and the driver's just sitting in the seat for a prolonged period of time. Now that sounds paranoid, and it's not. There's a difference between being paranoid and being careful. So just work together. You know, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to raise each other. And right now, because of politics, we're all being taught hate, suspicion, fear. Life does not have to be like that. You can be wary without being fearful. So work with one another. Go up, introduce yourselves, welcome new neighbors. You know, work together and just, okay, well, I'm calling in this suspicious vehicle. Find out later, oh, it was a family member waiting on another and they didn't have a key to the house. Okay, well, but at least you did it.
Yeah, and if you know more and more of your neighbors, you can, in a situation like that, you can go and apologize, and maybe things don't escalate, and maybe they understand because they know that, you know, there's kind of like this community, brotherhood that's trying to look out for everybody, and mistakes happen, right?
Exactly. And I have a book called How to Recognize the Devil. It has safety tips for parents, for elderly, for traveling in the United States, outside the United States, home, property. You can find it on Amazon or on my website, JudithAYates.com. I don't make any money off of that book because I don't feel like I should be making money off of anyone's, wanting to know the truth about keeping your place safe. You cannot prevent crime, ever, never, but you can try and avoid it. And we're such a reactive society that after our house is broken into is when we want to know, how did they get in? What did they do? Why didn't the dog bark? Who could it be? Instead of just taking a few extra steps to take care of your property.
Oh, you're the perfect person to have on for this episode's theme. You have a chapter on home security. Can you give some advice in that area?
Well, the first thing that people think of is it won't happen to me. And it will happen anywhere, including the quote-unquote better neighborhoods, because they have the better stuff. A burglar can be in and out of your house in 4 minutes or less with your valuables. It will take at least 15 minutes for security, law enforcement to arrive. So let's give an example of you're going on an extended trip, but you're not taking all your good jewelry. Do you know where the first two places a burglar looks?
Specifically for something like jewelry?
Yeah, for valuables.
Two spots. My guesses would be top drawer. No, because like most likely you're sleeping in your bedroom at the time. Are you saying if you're on vacation?
You're so specific. I love it. I'm
thinking about this too much, aren't I?
I love it. Yeah, you overthink like I do. Well, that wouldn't happen because that would never. The bedroom, because that's where the jewelry boxes are going to be, and the kitchen sink.
Kitchen sink.
Because what do we do when we are cooking or doing dishes or whatever? What do? We take off our jewelry and set it aside.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, I can give you an example. I purchased a very thick book. I don't even know what the title was. And I took an X-Acto knife. Be careful, don't try this at home. And I took the X-Acto knife and cut out a perfect square in the book. It doesn't have to be a square. It doesn't have to be perfect. And all my better jewelry, I placed it in the row of all of my books. And I remember one time I was teaching a class and a lady said, well, what if they do go through all of your books and find them? And I said, well, you got an educated burglar, but you can also do it with cereal boxes. Now, what
I
there's...
feel like I've heard that one before, hiding stuff in a
Put them in cereal
box.
boxes and put them up on the shelf. Now, you can buy those cans and things that look like a real soup can that you can open and put your valuables in. One, a professional thief is going to be able to spot that because, like everybody else, he sees it for sale. And two, why go to that expense? The book I bought was probably a nickel.
Right.
And the time it took me to do that, a few minutes. So, and, putting things in cereal boxes and salad boxes and such. And you can even add a little weight to the box to make it feel like it has content. Because I guarantee you, a burglar is not going to break into your house, creep about, take your valuables. Oh, I better look in all the boxes of food. It's not going to happen. It's going to be very rare.
What about having so much awareness around this kind of stuff that the burglars start thinking of those kind of spots because, I don't know, they hear interviews like this.
Well, then we got a very educated burglar with, a full tummy.
Maybe I'm giving burglars too much credit.
Yes, because I tell you what.
They know they only have a few minutes, right?
Yep, and the average criminal is not the brightest bulb. And I'm just being honest, the average criminal is not going to be the mastermind. And that's another thing. I hate it when the press calls, the mastermind or the genius or what have you. They're not masterminds and they're not geniuses. No, doesn't exist.
Interesting, like the Dexters of the world. We were talking about Dexter earlier today.
Yeah.
It's not really like reality.
No.
Yeah. Another scenario, let's say you're traveling and you have some jewelry with you and you don't know what to do with it. You want to go on the beach and just relax and not worry about your jewelry. Any tips? Yes.
It doesn't matter how expensive the hotel is. You want to be careful with your things. So, in your scenario, I'm going to the beach. I don't want to obviously take all my nice jewelry. I'll put them in my suitcase. No. Here's
Okay, suitcase is out. Not a good idea.
Right. Or my purse. This is what I like about this tip because it's recycling. I won't go into that. But your next empty tube of toothpaste, you wash it out really well with, bleach and water or vinegar and water. Then when you're at said hotel, you take all your rings, your valuables, put them in a plastic bag, a lunch bag, tie them off, and stuff them up into that empty tube of toothpaste, roll the bottom, and set it next to the toothbrushes. Because, okay, again, I have to get in here. I have to see what they have. They look rich. They're a nice car. Who is going to look at the toothpaste?
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't have to be toothpaste. It could be any other item that can be broken open and like that. And again, you can buy these very fancy things that look like aerosol cans of shaving cream and use those. But why not recycle and why not get a nice little hidey hole for free?
Yeah. Just reuse what you have. That's a great tip. And then some of those products that are made to look like other products is kind of obvious sometimes too.
Oh yeah. Thieves shop the same places you shop. They pay attention. You have to understand though, professional thieves, that's a very small amount of your, I guess you'd say, common thief. The kid who's going to break into your house, can they know where everything is? The guy who comes out and cleans your pool, who knows which doors you're not going to lock or has made friends with your dog. You have to think, okay, who do I have around me? Hotels, you've got people going in and out of your room with, your cleaning service and maybe the repair people. So, I'm not saying don't trust those people, but I'm saying be careful around those people. Be careful around all people. But think about it. They're in your room. The door is closed, or sometimes they'll have it open. But you've got somebody alone in your room. Would you let a stranger come into your bedroom at home and move around and clean while you're, off who knows where? No. So you have to have a mindset like that.
In those kind of situations, like what kind of accountability is there on the part of the hotel? When
prove it.
Yeah, I mean, you just need.
And also, if you read the fine print, they're not responsible for loss or damage of items.
Yeah, well, those are some pretty good tips. Thank you. You have a chapter on missing children. And so can we talk about the idea of stranger danger that was, I grew up hearing that. And in my own research, like I look at things like how we create these urban myths, like Halloween's coming up soon, and that whole idea of razor blades and apples is just like all kind of made up bogus nonsense, and like scare tactics, So the idea of stranger danger, in my mind, you're not focusing on who is most likely going to harm a kid. Am I on the right track?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Halloween is my absolute favorite holiday.
Oh, we have that in common.
Yes. And I hear all this, well, we don't want our children trick-or-treating because it's, you're going to a stranger's house and, Okay, let's back up a bit. This razor blade and the apple thing. There are only 3 instances in the United States for years and years and years where a child was harmed at Halloween by candy. Guess who actually harmed the child?
Family members, right?
Yep. They put poison in a pixie stick. That's one example where the father wanted them to fall over and die. And that's going to be hard to prove because we've been to a dozen plus houses. We've got all this candy in a bag. He breaks open the pixie stick and, shovels down poison. And gosh, how are we going to prove that? Remember I told you how criminals are not the brightest bulbs? The father had put that poison in that pixie stick, sealed it back up. Here, eat this, these are good. So there's only been 3 instances of this poison candy myth, yet as most of Americans do, they took it and ran with it without researching it. Mm-hmm. So we've created this, as you said, a myth, a scare tactic, which is another thing we as a country do. We use scare tactics so that we have these safe Halloween events. However, there's still a danger to that. Because to get to the event, most times, what do you have to do? You have to cross a street.
Oh, right. It's more dangerous to just cross the street with cars. Yeah, that
so,
maybe
yeah,
not paying attention.
There have been children that have died on Halloween, but it's been because they were hit by a car, because they were all excited. They didn't look both ways.
Yeah.
The driver is intoxicated. The driver's not paying attention. And now the driver is texting their friend or what have you. And
instead of doing stuff like trunk or treat, I think it would make sense to block off streets from car traffic. Country like ours, that would just probably create havoc.
Oh my God, are you
We're
kidding?
so car-centric.
People would blow their roof off because...
I mean, that sounds so nice though, right? Like, just the streets are the kids' streets for the night. But.
It does. And, as an adult walking with them, you would feel safer about not getting hit by a car, but still in the back of our minds, we've got that razor blade in the apple thing.
Yeah. And then that extends in general to, like kidnappings and missing children in general, right? It's quite often a family member or somebody that the kid already knew.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, I'll tell you, you never know, the freaks are out there to get the little kids. I've interviewed enough pedophiles to tell you that pedophiles are not out there wandering around at Halloween to snatch up a kid and do God knows what with them because of the measures in security. Adults walking around, adults handing out the candy at the door. And I've even been told, absolutely not, you are asking for it. If you're going to snatch up a kid on Halloween night there, or at a party, or what have you. Because predators like to work in secret. That's the main tool of a child predator, is they work in secret. So nobody is going to go out there hunting for a kid or looking for a kid while everybody's watching. And I discussed that in the chapter on child predators, where the grooming, the assault, the aftermath, stranger danger, there's no such thing. Because who's a stranger to a kid? The candy man, the ice cream man, the coach, the person next door, your best friend's parents, they're not strangers, but they are the people who are most likely to harm a kid.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying you should suspect all coaches. You should suspect the parents of the kids that your kid plays with. I'm saying you should be aware of these things. And be open and honest with your child. I got to throw this in because it's most important. Don't say to the kid, now you stay near me or somebody's going to snatch you up and run off, because that's a fear-based. You're going to create a world of fear for this kid. And you want to say to these children, I want you to be able to talk to me about anything. And if you feel like it's bad, I won't be angry.
Yeah.
If you're giving away someone's secret, I won't be angry. And my little ones, when I'm teaching them, I'll say, okay, what's a good secret? Ooh, it's, your birthday. What's in the package? What's in the presents? That's a good secret, because why? It makes you feel good inside. What's a bad secret? And I let them tell me. And usually I get things like fights at school and you're not supposed to tell, or somebody took somebody's cell phone and, okay, good. A bad secret is also when someone tells you, don't tell, or your mom and dad will be mad. Don't tell or I'll hurt your family. That is a very bad secret, and you need to share that. And if they don't want to listen, you share it with somebody else. We also teach, and we see pictures and what have you of the spooky guy in the trench coat hiding in the woods watching the little kids play. It doesn't work like that. A very, very small percentage of abducted children are by strangers. The majority of abducted children are by a family member during a custody battle, and usually by grandparents.
And I've known people that have gone through that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, took the kid and ran. Or even they make it about themselves. You can't see your child, blase, blase, until you do this. So it's also a power move. But yes, kids are scooped up and stolen, usually by somebody in the neighborhood, usually by somebody you think is a great person and does all these things. We used to have a next door neighbor that when his wife passed and he didn't have the kids around anymore, his adult kids wouldn't visit as much, suddenly had a deep freeze full of different kinds of popsicles and ice creams. And he would tell the kids, oh, come on in and get an ice cream. Now, that might be perfectly safe, but I told the kids, no, you stand outside on the sidewalk and you say, thank you. And he said, well, what kind do you want? Come and see. Oh, I'll take by now you should be out of there anyway, but kids don't think about that. It's, ooh, a popsicle. And don't go in his house. Just stand there on the sidewalk. You'll be okay. What kind do you want? I got all. Okay. Time to go.
What I love about that advice is that it's like this middle ground of you're not telling your kids, be fearful of everybody. When somebody tries to talk to you, look away and, but be practical, make sure you're in a group, right? And stay outside. And this is one of your neighbors. Don't just completely run and ignore this person.
Right. Because
we don't want that kind of world where we're just
very
fearful
jovial,
of everybody,
kind
right?
old man. And here he is alone and he's telling you, come on and get your popsicle. It could be perfectly innocent, but do you really want to gamble with a kid's safety?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't have to go over there and say, look here, you old pervert bastard. Stay away from my kids or I'll call the cops.
Talk to my kids. Don't even.
Right. I mean.
Who do you think you are? Or whatever.
It could be perfectly nothing, and I told my niece, I said, you need to stay away from him. If he wants to bring you a treat, wait outside. And she says, but he has nutty buddies. I said, it doesn't matter. But, they'd go in and who knows what. And then after a while, out they go with their popsicle and it's just too frightening.
Yeah. Podcasts like this, everyone who is listening, it's going to be in the back of their minds now going forward. And
I hope so.
Yeah. And that's exactly why I wanted to do this. So thanks again.
Sure. Anytime. So if anybody would like to know more information, I'd love you to pick up my book. It's called How to Recognize the Devil. It's on sale on Amazon or any other bookstore. And it has many chapters for elderly, for children, for parents, for traveling abroad, for traveling in states. There's also a section for note-taking and some ideas, situations that I put you in where you can work out your own responses and answers. For example, you're trapped in a house, you see someone coming down your hall, what do you do? I take worst case scenarios because if you're looking at the worst case scenarios, it trickles down. So it can also be purchased on truecrimebook.net.
So you've been recognized for your work and achievements, including winning the Silver Falchion Award for Best True Crime. How do you celebrate?
Oh my gosh. I was more shocked than anything. I was told, that was my very first book, and I was told, don't self-publish, don't do this, don't do that. Nobody wants to read about a murdered child and how to keep your children safe, because I always put a section in all of my books dealing with that situation. So that part was how to keep, how to recognize a child predator, because the perpetrator had all the red flags. But anyway, a author friend of mine who has since passed, Lois, she texted me. I'm asking people, have you heard anything? Have you heard anything? And Lois texts me and she says, Judith, you won. You won the Best True Crime Award. And I'm like, Lois, don't play,
Because you said it was your first published book.
My first published book, yes. And so I just kind of sit there and stare at the desk and go, really? And I should have known, because when people tell you you can't, you shouldn't, it won't work, you don't stop. You can't stop there. But I was just overjoyed and very proud of myself and very proud of the work. Called the family and let them know that their story was not only out there, but it was recognized by professionals as being important. So that's basically, I probably had some Ben and Jerry's fish food and a glass bottle Coke, But yeah, it was overwhelming.
Oh, you told me about your migraines. Was that at that point you realized stuff like alcohol was making it a lot worse?
I had to retire from everything, from teaching and any kind of law enforcement work, because of the migraines.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I had a migraine-related stroke, and that's basically when I said, okay, what do I want to do that I can do? I write on good days. I'm sick on bad days with the headaches. Sometimes the headaches will last 2 or 3 days. That means the emergency room. So now I've lost a week. But I can write when I'm feeling well. Yeah. So plus I love to write. I've always have. And I love investigation and research. So that's part of it.
Well, that's great. So maybe I'm going to ask you what you do to relax and unwind after researching serial killers and gruesome murders all day. Or is that, what you just love to do? So you don't need to relax and unwind.
No crime is cool. No criminal is cool. It's not cool to, interview a man or a woman that did a heinous crime. So to detox, I have a farm of rescue animals, and I spend time with them. And animals are the best because they don't judge. They don't tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing. They're all about loving you. Yeah. And it's such a joy to go out there and watch the turkeys waddling around and the horses demanding more food and the dogs. And I work with my little pit bull. I trained him. He's got 2 AKC awards now. So that's my getaway.
And my final question is about your upcoming book that will be released this winter, about Irma Grace, entitled "Becoming the Hyena of Auschwitz." Right?
Yes.
Can you share what drew you to this complex and difficult subject, and what readers can expect from the book?
Dr. Henry Lee invited me to an international crime symposium in Japan, and I wanted to submit a paper. And I've always been curious about Grace. On the other hand, one of my very dear friends was a Holocaust survivor. And so I went to a lot of events with her because she was always speaking. She's an activist. And so there was always that kind of in the back of my head, what an interesting individual, Irma Grace as a writing source, as a subject.
Yeah.
So I submitted the paper to the conference, and I had, like most times when I say I have an idea, I jumped into the tar pit, but I had an idea, and I started researching, and I found either everything was alike and everything contrasted. So what's the true story? And that's when I kept going into who is this person? What did they do? What did they not do? So.
And she played an important role there at Auschwitz, that concentration camp.
She was. Yes, she did. She was, well, it's always hard to say the most fierce or the most evil. A friend of mine, Dr. Cyril Weck, said to me once, okay, explain this worst crime scene I've ever seen. What was the second? What made it the worst? And he made me laugh and he said that, but he's absolutely right. She was indeed one of the most evil individuals in the story of the Holocaust when it came to female, and particularly females who worked the concentration camps. Irma Grayson was considered a very beautiful woman. Even the women that she beat and tortured said she was a beautiful woman. She was small built. She's from a little tiny town. She wanted to be a nurse initially. And so she couldn't get a job as a nurse. And she heard about being an Aufseherin, a guard, female guard. Actually, they were called helpers because a female could not be a Nazi. She went to work there, very excited about doing the job. These women were also misled as to what the job was. She finds out what the job is, and she's all gung-ho because ever since she was a child, she was always told how evil Jewish people are. Yeah. So it all kind of fell into place.
I'm excited for the release. I hope it's a major success. Do you want to shift gears and do some trivia?
Okay. I love trivia.
We'll go over 5 things that happened this day. I'm going to randomly choose one. I already did that because I needed to prepare my 16 questions for this, for your and my discussion. So one of these will be chosen at random. So number 1, on October 18th, 1851, Herman Melville's iconic novel Moby Dick was first published under the title The Whale. Largely ignored and openly ridiculed upon release, the story of Moby Dick has since become a classic and has been adapted into a play as well as several films throughout the years, including the John Huston 1956 version starring Gregory Peck and featuring an intense performance by Orson Welles as Father Mapple. Have you ever seen that version?
A long time ago.
Oh, it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. This day, October 18th, 1867, topic number 2, the U.S. officially took possession of Alaska from Russia after purchasing it for $7.2 million. A deal orchestrated by then Secretary of State William H. Seward. This day is still celebrated as Alaska Day in the state. Many at the time thought the price was too high and referred to the land purchase as Seward's Folly or Seward's Icebox after he arranged the deal. And in my research in this, that all came back to me. I remember learning that in school. Those words, Seward's Folly, stuck in my mind all these years. Happy birthday to Jean-Claude Van Damme, champion martial artist and bodybuilder turned actor, known for his roles in Bloodsport and Double Impact. Born in Brussels, Belgium in 1960, he was honored in his home city in 2012 with a bronze statue depicting the actor getting into position for one of his famous flying kicks. Topic number 4, in Croatia today, you may see people celebrating World Cravat Day, or Cravat, sometimes referred to as World Necktie Day. Originally worn by Croatian mercenaries in France, the word cravat comes from the French pronunciation of Croat, or Croat, in English we often say, referring to people from Croatia. Legend has it, it all started when a Croatian soldier received a scarf from his fiancée as a going-away present before heading off to war. He started a fashion trend among his fellow soldiers, and the rest is history. This eventually morphed into the necktie, and by the end of the 17th century, the tie had become firmly established as part of Western fashion. And finally, topic number 5 today is World Menopause Day. October 18th.
We have a day.
There's a day for everything. Held every year on October 18th to raise awareness of this period of someone's life. and what they go through, as well as to talk about support options to improve health and well-being. Women's health has historically been an overlooked area, and data systems fail to collect proper information on women, especially over the age of 49. The theme of World Menopause Day 2024 is menopause hormone therapy. So do any of these topics, are you hoping, will be chosen over the others? Anything that, you could really sink your teeth into?
When I was younger, I loved Jean-Claude Van Damme. I thought he was so hot. He had a nice butt. I loved his voice. Gosh, I don't know. I guess I'll spin the wheel and find out. So there's really a menopause day?
Yep.
Because it doesn't last a day.
Right. Well, I'll just stop you there because it was Jean-Claude Van Damme. That's what the randomizer wheel chose for you.
Oh, so, okay. I'd choose Jean-Claude.
16 questions about Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Okay, and I've thrown in some hints that if you need it, let me know.
Okay.
And I'll reveal the hint.
I hope you're listening, my love.
Van Damme was born in Brussels, Belgium on October 18th, 1960. Before long, he'd start pursuing interests. True or false, as a child, one of these interests he pursued was ballet.
True.
Yeah, true. And ballet as well as weightlifting. That's right. Question number 2. What martial art did Van Damme begin practicing at the age of 10?
I know this.
He dabbled in different things, right? So
I know this because we had a training session on it once. It's basically a skill where you are defensive. It's all defensive moves. It's not Sankyo. It's not Kurogate.
I didn't write down any hints for this one.
All I know is I cannot remember the word. I had a fiance that practiced this also, and this is the only reason I know all this useless stuff. But it's moving to defend yourself instead of attacking, and I cannot remember what it's called. And when you say it, I'm going to go, oh yeah.
Well, I mean, you may know more about his background than I did, but
no, I just thought he had a nice butt.
Well, it was karate. He may have been exploring other things.
I wasn't thinking karate.
But question number 3 ties into this. While just a teenager, he advanced in his karate skills enough to receive...
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Steven Seagal is the one that practices all the defense moves. Because if you notice in his movies, they always have to rush at him for him to make a move. So I got my boyfriends, mixed up.
Okay, so yeah, he definitely did karate because... this ties into the question number 3. While still just a teenager, he had advanced in his karate skills enough to receive what item used in martial arts to denote different levels of rank, and in what color, a color indicating the most coveted rank in karate.
A belt and a black belt.
Yeah. Yeah, by I think 18, 19 years old, he was already a black belt in karate. Okay, question number 4. Before pursuing acting, what very specific title did Van Damme win in a bodybuilder competition in Belgium? And the clue there is the very specific title.
Right. And it's not nicest ass. What is it? I'm going back to that. Is it Mr. Olympian?
It was Mr. Belgium.
Oh.
He was Mr. Belgium that year.
I missed it by a word.
Okay, number 5. Another pursuit he explored before making it big as an actor was modeling. True or false?
True.
Yep. He also opened a gym in Brussels at one point. So, true. He dabbled in all sorts of stuff before he became a big Hollywood actor. Number 6, before moving to Los Angeles to pursue his dreams in the early 1980s, he briefly tried to break into a different movie industry that was thriving at the time in what well-known city that, at that moment in history, was still under British colonial rule?
Oh, my God. South Africa?
South Africa. Think martial arts. Think the East.
Oh, God, that could be Japan. That could be China. That could be Okinawa. Oh, you're asking a history question that's not crime-related. I don't know.
Hong Kong.
Ah, I knew that.
Yep. So it was under British colonial rule. I believe it was 1997 when it was handed back over to the Chinese. I don't know
I had
the
forgotten
story.
about that. I had forgotten at one point they were under the rule. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now I learned.
Question number 7. Mentioned in an interview in 2017 promoting his Amazon series Jean-Claude Van Johnson, what martial arts star did Van Damme describe as his hero, inspiring him to go after his dreams?
Probably Bruce Lee.
Yep, it was Bruce Lee. He also cites Charles Bronson as a big influence.
Oh, he was good looking too. He had that rugged look about him.
Very rugged.
Yeah.
Okay. The next 3 questions are about films from Van Damme's heyday in the late 80s, early 90s. Here's a clue to help you out with the next 3. All 3 films mentioned for the next 3 questions will have one-word titles, and also each title is a compound noun. And I also will have an additional hint if you want it.
Okay.
That I wrote down. Okay. Question number 8. Which 1989 movie features Jean-Claude Van Damme training in Muay Thai to avenge his brother?
Oh my God.
And I got a hint for you if you want it.
I didn't see that one, but didn't he play identical twins? One was nice, one was not.
Oh, that's quite a twist. I actually haven't seen it.
Right? That was, okay, to avenge his brother. Wait a minute. Kubate. I can see it.
Do you want the hint?
I can see it in my mind because I can see parts of the movie. Because, yes, I did watch that. Go ahead. Yeah, give me a hint.
I don't know if this is a good hint, but the title references the type of full contact sport that Muay Thai is considered to be. And remember, it's one single word and it's a compound word.
Right.
Compound noun.
Oh, gosh, I can see it in my head. I can see the cover. I can see parts of the movie. Because that annoying best friend got crunched up and he went back to... Okay, I'm out of it. I don't know.
Kickboxer.
Bah. Okay.
Kickboxer.
It was Kickboxer.
The film. Okay, number 9. In which 1988 film, based on a true story, according to the poster, gave Van Damme his breakthrough as a martial arts action star? And I also have a hint for you, if you want.
I'll take a hint.
It's a 2-syllable word. First syllable is something we have in our bodies, and second syllable is something we do with our bodies.
Heart something? Heart attack? Heart jump? Heart start?
You're getting close. What else is floating around in our bodies?
Livers? Fingernails? Gut? Oh, gosh.
Starts with a B. That's in our bodies.
Oh. I'd say Bubbles. That was Michael Jackson's chimp that he abused. So
It's not that.
Was it Bloodsport?
Yes.
Ah,
you got it. You reach into the deep recesses of your mind.
I
Do you
know.
think you've seen that movie since 1988?
I don't think so, but I remember that was the first one. My best friend in undergraduate school and I went with dates, and her date was so annoying that we tricked him into being dumped because we told him we weren't going anywhere else. And
Oh, and you just left him behind?
yeah, we dropped him off at his car, and then my best friend and my then fiance and I went out to Denny's or something memorable like that. And because we told him, no, we're all going to bed because because he was a jackass. Yeah.
Okay, number 10. In which film from 1994 did Jean-Claude Van Damme play a time-traveling police officer?
Time Cop?
Yeah, that was it. The hint would have been the title of this movie is more or less revealed in the question that I asked. Time-traveling police officer.
I don't even know how I know
Cop.
that. You know, my head is like my brain in my head is kind of like a very full file cabinet, the 4-drawer kind, dropped from a 20-story building. You know, it's like got all of this stuff in it, and it's all jumbled, and God knows why I know things that are obscure, you know.
Hey, you're doing pretty well.
What do I win?
Nothing. But at the very least, at the end, I'll probably in post-editing, tally up the score, and I'll let you know how well you did. I think you've missed maybe 2, maybe?
I don't know.
Question 11. What is the 4-letter title of Van Damme's 2008 semi-autobiographical film in which he plays a version of himself? And I have a hint, too, for this one if you want it.
I don't know.
The hint is, it sounds like something you might worry about after a careless night of unprotected sex.
Oh, my God. Life? Junior? Pregnant? Knocked up?
Do you want me to read the question again?
Yes, please.
What is the 4-letter title of Van Damme's 2008 semi-autobiographical film in which he plays a version of himself? So just think of something like self-referential.
I don't know.
Okay. JCVD.
Oh, my God. That's so...
Yeah, it was just his initials. But you get a JCVD.
JCVD.
Yeah.
That's terrible. It's funny, but it's not.
Terrible on many levels. Question number 12. In 2023, it was announced that Van Damme would be included as a character skin amongst its roster of fighters in the latest release from what video game series?
You know, all the video games I play are old school.
Well, this one was... The first came out in the 90s. I had the first and second one on Super Nintendo.
Is it the one where they go, fight?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like maybe a couple of them. No, it probably was just the one that I'm thinking. Yeah, you're on the right track, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they say, fight. And then you make the little one-dimensional guys that are all cubed up, go each other and go, pop, pop, pow.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, my God. Mortal Kombat?
Yep, you nailed it. Okay, question 13. Van Damme has had different nicknames over the years, including simply JCVD, which now every time I hear, I'm going to think of something very different, and King of the Belgians. But what other nickname in popular media really stuck?
I've heard that he was quite the beep hole. So,
Really?
Oh, yeah, very arrogant. But, you know, who knows? I don't know. Not me. I don't know.
Do you want the hint?
Sure.
It's a reference to his physique as well as his Belgian background. I know you've heard this. Because if you were a fan of his back then, I mean, I was just a little kid.
Oh, I just thought he was hot. You know, I didn't care what he was doing. Yeah, the movie came on, and me and my best friend were going, ooh, and our dates were like, what? He's got very nice arms. He's very beautiful as a man. I don't know.
The Muscles from Brussels.
Oh,
Have you ever heard that?
Okay.
And question 14, Muscles from Brussels was a phrase most likely spoken many times before Van Damme was even born to refer to something entirely different. What could I possibly be referring to here?
Would it be a food?
Yep.
Would it be a nasty food? Like
well, it
shellfish?
depends on, how you think of this particular seafood or seafood in general.
Oh, I can see them in my mind's eye. They're round, they're white. I don't like them. After that night at Papa Do's.
I mean, I'll give it to you because you said it was food. I mean, mussels, Mussels.
Yes, that's what I was thinking, but I thought that cannot be that simple.
No, and I didn't come across this in my research, I don't think. Maybe I did, but I think it is somehow related because it's the national dish in Belgium.
Okay.
Belgium.
Belgian muffled. Okay.
A main dish of mussels and French fries is considered the national dish of Belgium. On some menus around Belgium, you can have more than a dozen different preparations of mussels. So they're all over the place. So I'm sure that, influenced his nickname at least a little bit. Question 15. True or false? Already mentioned there is a bronze statue of Van Damme in his home city of Brussels. Due to a bronze shortage at the time of its creation, this larger-than-life figure's bronze statue is only half scale. True or false?
Ooh, 50% chance here. I don't know. Let me think. Sure, true.
No, it's false. And I'm glad that I can make something that convincing. I totally made up the whole bronze shortage
I'm picturing
thing.
it in my head, like, oh, we don't have enough bronze.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right?
Oh, everybody put together your pennies. But then I'm like, stupid, they don't have pennies over there. Okay, yeah, snagged.
So, yep, that one's false. But now on the podcast, the final question, we're already on the final question, is what I call the tie-in round. It ties in the previous episodes, the last episode's theme, which was John Brown. Okay. And this one was really hard. And so it's quite a stretch. But here we go. Which actor who portrayed abolitionist John Brown in the fantastic miniseries The Good Lord Bird was once considered for a role in the 1996 movie Independence Day, a film directed by Roland Emmerich, who also directed Universal Soldier, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Good God.
I told you it was quite a stretch. And mouthful.
So who played John Brown?
Ultimately, yeah, in that great miniseries. I don't know if you've seen it.
I did not.
A couple years ago.
But I can guess. I like Tommy Lee Jones. I could see him doing it. He's a Texas boy. Give me a hint.
I was just trying to
there's
think
not
of
enough
one.
in that question.
This actor's last name, male actor, obviously played John Brown.
Hello, John Brown.
His last name is the name of a bird, although it's spelled differently.
Okay, so it's a last name that is a name of a type of bird spelled different?
Yeah, a type of bird, but it's spelled differently.
Okay, it can't be the penguin. It can't be Tom Swift. I don't see anyone named Flamingo.
It's a bird I see quite a bit out here on these
Starling.
Starling?
Hello, Starling. You fly away, little Starling. Fly, fly, fly. Robin? Somebody Robin, maybe?
Oh, yeah, there probably is a couple actors with the last name Robin, huh? It's not Robin.
I'm thinking what I saw today. Robins, I saw sparrows. Sparrow?
Mm-mm.
I don't know. I don't know anyone. Wait a minute, Eric James.
You want the initials?
Sure.
E.H.
Who? Edward Sparrow?
It might not be an actor that you're very familiar with.
I'm not. No.
Okay, I'll give it to you.
That's a trick question because I didn't watch that show and I don't know this actor. That's a trick question.
Ethan Hawke.
Oh,
he's been around quite a while.
Yeah, he's okay. I'm not a big Eth. I thought he was very good in that one movie where he's very scary with the mask. But
is it one of the Batman movies?
No. Something about people get locked in the basement. I don't want to give too much away because it is a very good scary movie. And it's very cerebral, which I like in frightening movies. I don't even know. And people who are listening are going to scream the name at me, but I don't know. I don't remember.
In my mind right now, I'm just thinking how it's funny with your background and career. You still will go home and just relax and watch a horror movie, huh? Or is it just like
not really. I'm not much of a horror fan. I like classic scary stuff like Halloween, but it's cerebral. And I normally like foreign films of that type. But like The Ring, when I watched that, I lived alone. I jumped out of the seat a couple of times, and then I slept with a lot of lights on. So, but yeah, I'm not really much of I like the old classic monsters simply because way back in the day, they would find a body that was tore up, so they blamed it on werewolves.
Right.
Or someone
like in real history, like back in the day.
Right. I mean, the monsters, the movie monsters were, based on notes and what's the word I'm looking for?
Folklore and stuff like that.
Folklore.
Yeah.
The movie monsters are based on folklore. The movie monsters.
Could be too. You never know. Killer forks on the loose.
Folklore. The movie monsters are based on folklore and word of mouth and, superstition and religious beliefs. So, especially Dracula, I love that story. Dracula. Vlad the Impaler.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always, and then if you've ever read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, it's really nothing like the Frankenstein that we're seeing in the movies.
Yeah.
But she had a dream. She dreamed about it and got up and wrote it. So the story is. So I think that's fascinating too.
She was a fascinating woman.
Yes, definitely.
And I have a little anecdote related to the tie-in round. According to Hawke, in an interview with Conan O'Brien, he turned down the role of an Independence Day, thinking the script was so bad that he ended up throwing it out the window, his car window.
See?
He later regretted the decision as the movie was such a hit, and his role went to Will Smith, which helped to cement Smith's status as an A-list celebrity. However, the studio was reluctant at first to hire a black man for the lead role, shedding light on a deep-rooted racist notion that black lead actors negatively impact the international box office, which is sad to think about. That was almost 30 years ago. Hopefully that doesn't happen as much now.
You know, is that not depressing when you think about because of how someone looks, too fat, too thin, the color of your skin, that you're not good for box office, meaning you're not good enough to make us money. I mean, that's sad and stupid.
Yeah, it's screwed up. And we definitely see more body types in media now, and obviously more representation. But yeah, that was like revealed years later in some interviews. I think with the director, actually. But yeah, thank you so much, Judith.
Thank you.
A. Yates.
This was fun.
Do you have any other things to promote that are going on other than the release of the book coming up?
Oh, I got a ton of stuff because there's a car I want to buy on eBay. But I have all my books listed on my website, which is also truecrimebook.net.
Okay.
You can buy any of my books online where they sell great books. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, etc. And we're working on a board game that is based on the crime of Lizzie Borden.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So that's in the works for next year. I've got 2 subjects that I'm interviewing right now. One for probably going to be a police manual training. And the other one is going to be a serial killer that has never talked to anyone else about her crimes or her background or anything else. She's never even spoken to the local media.
Wow.
And she is allowing me into her world, and I'm interviewing her for the book.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so many things we didn't even get to, like, the card games and board games too. That you
just
created.
The one board game that's coming out, yeah.
So check out your website one more time. What's the...
truecrimebook.net.
truecrimebook.net. Thanks again.
Thank you. And Jean-Claude, if you're listening, I didn't mean the mean things I said.
How'd you do? Write into the podcast to tell us your score. Or if you have any suggestions, thisdaystrivia@gmail.com. That's thisdaystrivia@gmail.com. That's all we have for today, but make sure to tune in every Monday, Wednesday, Friday for new episodes and new topics. Interested in ad-free episodes, bonus content, transcripts, and my sources for deeper dives into the topics? Looking for archived material from my previous podcasts, Get the Word, and the English sessions? Go over to patreon.com/Bison Podcast Studios and give us just $1 single for all of it. Patreon.com/Bison Podcast Studios. That's patreon.com/Bison Podcast Studios. Until next time, this is Mike signing off.